It's Christina Marie Weber, and I run a company called Christian Biz Owners on Fire, and we help faith-based business owners and spiritually healthy business people who want a more fulfilling and prosperous business or ministry while keeping God, their relationships, and their families a top priority and their purpose a top priority on a daily basis. So today we're going to be doing something unique this year, and I want to encourage more of it. And that is, I'm going to be creating videos in response to people who follow me, my clients, people who are interested in the work that I'm doing, and that's what we're doing today. I actually got this idea from one of my clients who said, "Hey, I really wish you would do a video on, do I have to be like a man to not to fail in business or to be successful in business?" So that's what we're going to talk about today. So just to give you a little introduction, is a lot of the things that I do with people is I basically help them understand their holistic vision and reverse engineer it and make it work with their life. And part of that involves working with their unique personality, the unique things that they want to be creating in their life, in their holistic vision. So the first thing I want to talk about is just to understand, well, what does this mean, be a man, be a woman? I know there's a lot of stuff about that right now. I'm really referring to not so much people's biology, but their energy. So I want to explain a little bit about the difference between masculine and feminine energy. Whether you are a male or female, you actually can be operating with either of those, okay? And what makes you unique is that unique mix of, like, what percentage of the time do you tend to operate in more of a feminine energy place, and what percentage of the time do you tend to operate in more of a masculine energy place? And are you maximizing that with what you're doing, the tasks you're doing, the business you have, or the vision you're pursuing? And you're unique, who you are uniquely as a person. So to kind of get into this, I need to describe what is the difference between masculine and feminine energy. So first of all, masculine energy is very goal directed. It's very linear. It's 2 plus 2 is 4. You need that to build buildings and balance your books. It's actually designed the way a male body's designed. It initiates. It's out there in the world. It's exterior. It's good. There's also a completely different kind of energy that's more feminine. So feminine energy is more circular. It's more about being at the right place at the right time, gut feel, synchronicity. 2 plus 2 could be 12. I mean, it's equally as valid, but it's different. It's like a female's body, more rounded. So what's important is to understand is that we actually have a natural comfort level with operating with a certain percentage. Like if you look at yourself as a pie, and that maybe 10% of the time you operate more in masculine energy and 90% of the time you operate more in feminine energy. It's important to really have awareness about yourself. Like, what are you naturally more comfortable with doing? There really are no right or wrongs here. There are pitfalls of having this off, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the key is to have the self-awareness about yourself. What are you more comfortable with? Because we're getting into being authentic. Do I need to be like a man? Well, if you don't want to be like a man, no, you're not going to be successful. I mean, you are going to, I believe, if people are not being who they really are, that leads to failure. That's kind of one of the causes of business failure or personal failures in your life. It's trying to be someone you're not. So if you look at it like a dating analogy, there was a guy, Evan Cates, he's a dating coach, and he would talk about understanding your own mix. Like, what's your natural baseline? Like, like for me, I'm about 70% of the time I'm more comfortable in feminine energy, and 30% of the time I have more of a masculine energy. So one of the things to think about, like if you think of the dating analogy, is I'm going to be more compatible with a partner who would be, a man would be more like 70% masculine energy and 30% feminine energy. Okay, likewise, if I'm a woman and I'm like 50-50, I'm 50% masculine energy, 50% feminine energy, um, you're going to be more compatible with a man with that's kind of similar ratio. If you have a man that's more like, or a woman that's more dominant masculine energy, like 60%, 40% feminine, she's going to be better with a male that's the opposite, you know. You get into clashes if like I'm actually more masculine energy, maybe 70% masculine energy, and I'm trying to have a relationship with a partner who is also about that 70% energy, you're going to clash. And I mean, that gets back into who's wearing the pants, kind of an issue, who's taking charge. It's not really about biology, it's about just the way we naturally do things, how we view the world, how we orient ourselves. So, at its extreme, being too much in either energy in the business world can be a liability. Okay. So what I find with, I work with a lot of men, and what I find in their kind of type A, ambitious men. So they have a lot of masculine energy that they naturally use. The problem that they run into is if they're operating out of too much masculine energy, it's exhausting because it's more of a pushing, an active, and that doesn't always work in every situation. It doesn't always work with dealing with people. People don't respond well, a lot of the times, to that pushy, take charge, initiating kind of energy. Sometimes it's perfectly appropriate, but in other times, I see it a lot in terms of interrelationships, that you need to have in business. It really doesn't work as well. Um, or if you're one dimensional, like you can only talk about goals and business, but you're really uncomfortable having kind of a side conversation about someone's family. Well, that's more feminine energy. And you may miss out on connecting with people. You think of the Latino culture where, a lot of times they really are oriented on talking more about the family and relationships, and then maybe spend a little bit of time about business. But that's a big part of how they connect. So if you have a man that's so much in his masculine energy that he doesn't really have much of a family life to share about because he's not investing in it, he's not valuing it, he doesn't spend the time there. Or B, he may have it, but he can't really converse about it because he doesn't have those communication skills. That can really slow you down in business. Likewise, as a woman, if we're too much in our feminine energy is about emotions and, like I said, gut feel and intuition and instincts. So if I'm completely in my emotion, I'm more of an extreme feminine energy person. That's the person that doesn't stick with stuff. Like, well, if I don't feel like I want to be in this business now, I'm just going to kind of, back off. Things are getting hard. I don't like this. So this doesn't feel good. I think I'm going to want to do something else. Well, business is about perseverance. Frankly, that's completely about what distinguishes someone that really makes it versus not, is if they can stick with it. And if you're completely in feminine energy, that's totally reliant on your feelings and feeling good, that's not the way it works in having a successful business. We need to be able to have that discipline, that even if our feelings are going in this way, which is really more masculine energy, to say, yeah, but I need to do A, B, C, and D, again, masculine energy, to move this thing forward. And a lot of times our feelings are kind of interplayed with that. So if we get so paralyzed in our feelings, which is like an extreme feminine energy, we don't get stuff done because we don't feel like doing it. And a lot of times, if we actually do it, even when we don't feel like doing it, it can actually improve our feelings. So we get stuck. So again, we want to really understand what this energy is. We want to have self-awareness about ourselves. And there's nothing wrong with how you're created or what you want to do. Now, if if you want to run a business and you have mostly feminine energy, like I think I'm in this category, I had to be willing to learn how to engage in masculine energy. I had to be willing to learn how to do my numbers. I had to be willing to learn how to kind of be a little more competitive than I'm comfortable with. I'm more collaborative, which is more of a feminine thing. I had to learn how to handle pressure better, which is kind of more masculine. So again, it's knowing yourself, what you are, but when you know your vision is going to require maybe some skills that are a little bit out of your zone, or maybe a little bit out of your natural way of wanting to do things. But really, to be successful and to not fail, you need to, in business, you need to really be able to recognize where you're going to need to grow. Like a guy, if he's too much in his masculine energy and he's just charging it too hard, he can end up having a heart attack if he doesn't learn to dial it down, to learn how, okay, yeah, I like the intensity, it's built my business, but if I stay in this and I don't learn how to rest and I don't learn how to dial down my energy, you can have health problems. And a lot of just to give you a stat, a lot of really hard charging executives, like CEOs, C-level people, it's not uncommon after they retire in a couple of years, they're dead because they don't know how to go from that intensity level to like a normal life where you don't have to make all those decisions all the time because they never practiced having any downtime when they were working. So this can be an issue. It can lead to personal failures, it can lead to business failures. So what basically, excuse me. So really what I wanted to do here is really what I try to do with clients and what I try to do here is the answer to the question is no, you don't need to be like a man to not fail in business. But what you do need to be is you need to be self-aware of who you are. You need to be aware of where you want to go. You need to accurately assess maybe some skills or things a little bit out of your comfort zone that you're going to need to develop. And then you need to live authentically. So authentically doesn't mean that I'm already there just because I realize I need those skills. What it means is that I know I need to grow in these areas and I'm committed to that growth process. That's authenticity. Um, so, and to be strategic about it, about how you relate to the world. So, and I'll give you a good example because we can hold ourselves back. I have a podcast releasing this week. It's an interview with a sales expert. Her name's Deborah Brown Mayer, and she wrote the book Selling Like Jesus. And I really loved her message, and it really ties into this conversation we're having right now. Because basically, she always loved sales. She's been in sales, but she didn't like how she was in some ways being trained to sell. It just did not fit with her. It was really kind of more of a masculine model, like this many contacts and hit this and say this script and da 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 da. And not that that doesn't work for some people, but it really didn't work for her. It was not her personality. So she wrote a whole book on more of a feminine way of selling. And when I was interviewing her, I was like, oh my gosh, this is how I sell. This is how I do it. It's more relational. It's relational. I don't, I would rather go to a networking event and have three quality conversations that are a little more in depth than give my business card or exchange business card with 10 people. And there were some people that tried to train me how to sell that way. Well, you got to get 10 people, and then of those 10, 5 are going to have the appointments with you, and of those you're going to close. But it just didn't feel right to me. And in fact, it felt very draining to do that. Whereas the way that I do it, this Deborah Brown Mayer kind of validated, which is more relational, more patient, more building the relationship over time, more taking more time. I actually have a better conversion rate with less contacts, but it's more of a feminine approach, being more prepared when I do have a meeting with someone. I've looked them up, I've researched them, I know a little bit about them, where they went to college. I have points where I can have natural conversation. So again, to give you an illustration, I was already doing that, but a part of me was feeling guilty, like, oh, I need to get more numbers because the way I'm doing it, I'm not getting enough numbers. And to some degree, there's truth to that, which is why I'm kind of branching off online just to be more automated. But I don't want to change my actual approach. My actual approach is very high touch, it's very feminine. So what I've done is I understand how things work and I've embraced who I am, and it's a mindset thing. So instead of feeling like what I'm doing is wrong, I'm realizing no, what I'm doing is right, but I still need to incorporate the concept of how many contacts am I having, even if it's a different mode of getting those contacts or working them through my own sales funnel. I still need to take that masculine piece, but I don't need to feel like I got to go hit the pavement hard, or even online, spam people to, get the numbers up. And that works for some people. It doesn't work for me. So that's really what the conclusion is here. You need to understand how you work, how the world works, and how you'll engage with the world. You've got to, even if it's out of your zone, even if it's out of your comfort level, like being more competitive or being more relational is out of your comfort level, you still need to know how to do it. And you need to be intentional about developing those skills that aren't your natural skills, and then leading with your natural skills, whatever, if they're more masculine energy skills or more feminine energy skills. Just being aware, does that fit your business? Does it fit what you're trying to do? And then really value the way that you're made. There is no wrong way. It's just you being authentic, you being aware of who you are, understanding business, and living and being strategic. This is masculine energy, being strategic about how you apply it, not just wishing it works. That's more feminine. Wishing and hoping and feeling it works. No, planning and strategizing that it works. See how we're kind of blending both the masculine and the feminine all the time. And then once you've made that decision based on self-awareness, based on knowledge of the world and your business and what you're offering, that you have the right mindset, then you fully engage whatever that strategy is. So to answer the question, absolutely not. You do not have to be like a man to not fail in business, and you don't have to be like a woman to not fail in business. What you need to be is self-aware and authentic and strategic. So I hope this was helpful. I would love to answer anyone else's questions. So if we're going to try this once a month, as if it's really popular, we'll keep it up, or it's fruitful. So if you have any other questions about how to really achieve your vision in an authentic way, I'm really a blend of a business and life coach for faith-based business owners and healthy, spiritually healthy business owners. So anything along those lines is fair game. Private message me. I'd love to get any questions so that I can do a video on it. Take care.